Alright, so the Six-Day War was fought between two major peoples, the Israelis and the Arabs, the Arab countries being Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Egypt decided to start off with its state-of-the-art tanks and an air force. They moved into the Sinai Peninsula. What they didn't know is that Israel had been planning for this attack many months before. Israel started off the war with a big bang by attacking Egypt's, Jordan's, and Syria's Air Force. They started off flying into Egypt, destroying everything in its path. The Air Force was rendered useless by the end of the day, and when a normal Air Force mission would stop, they turned around and flew all the way to Jordan to destroy their Air Force. And they did the same with Syria. And then they went home, gaining air superiority so that the other three countries could not fight them aerially and could only fight them on the ground, giving Israel a major advantage. Egypt, despite its bad luck, decided to go ahead and attack anyway, so they led into the Sinai Peninsula. After a couple hours of fighting, Egypt ordered a retreat. Many soldiers didn't know why, but they retreated with the orders they were given. Upon retreating, the Israeli Air Force decided they were going to exercise their air superiority by attacking the retreating army. Egypt suffered several casualties and a loss of many tanks, jeeps, etc. Therefore, when they retreated back to Egypt, Egypt was knocked out of the Six-Day War in the span of about 2 to 3 days. So that didn't work out as well as they'd hoped. The country of Jordan decided to attack Israel even though Egypt was knocked out and Egypt had brought all the Arab countries together in the first place. After a couple hours of fighting, Jordan suffered a different problem, heat stroke. Jordan did not have the knowledge that Israel had had. A couple years earlier, Israel had conducted an experiment. They had made a battalion of soldiers march across the whole stretch of Israel, each letting one part of it drink 1 liter per day, the other half of it drinking 1 liter per hour. The results were confirmed that the people who were given 1 liter of water per hour performed much better and were able to continue the day's work. The other Arab countries did not know about this, so they kept with the 1 liter per day. Therefore, Jordan's army suffered massive amounts of death due to heat stroke, dehydration, and heat exhaustion. This rendered the army almost useless while Israel was fighting with way better health rates and did not lose as many men. So Jordan fails at attacking Israel because of a simple science problem. Maybe they should have studied in school more. Syria suffered a way different problem. A couple years earlier, Israel had sent in a spy to sabotage the Syrian war plans. He was successful. He got himself very high into the advisory rank in the army. So he exercised this power. He found out where the Syrians were planning to attack the Israelis from and completely changed the battle so that it would be totally sided against the Syrians. One of his most famous quotes was, "These men are suffering from heat stroke and dehydration. We must protect our men from the sun. Plant trees around every artillery encampment across the board." And they do. They plant trees all around so that what looks like protection is actually a big X on every single area where the artilleries are, so the Israelis don't waste ammunition and can just fire upon the artillery. Meanwhile, the Israelis are hidden amongst the rest of the sand where the artillery is meant to be hidden. So Syria epically fails. The number one thing you need to know in every war is who to trust. One problem that all three countries faced was the simple gun problem. While the Arab countries used the famous AK-47 for trench warfare, the Israelis invented a gun called the Uzi. The Uzi was much easier to cut around corners and fire, while the AK-47 you had to lift up, aim, and fire. This saved time and lives because you didn't have to show your face, you could just fire. Though the Uzi was not as accurate as the AK-47, you fire enough shots, you will hit your target. The strange thing about the Six-Day War is that the communists were using state-of-the-art Soviet tanks, while the Israelis were using World War II edition Sherman tanks that they had souped up by adding better tracks for desert combat and more firepower where the guns were concerned. This may have seemed one-sided against the communists, but somehow the Israelis managed to pull through. This shows that even though you have the best stuff, doesn't always show that you know how to use it.